This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoinmeister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to the One Bitcoin Show. Today is May the 26th, 2022. Strong hand, trust anchor. Solutions over sympathy, innovation over interference, buying over crying. Golden age of the 2020s. I'm a confident decentralist. I'm offended by selling. Bitcoin is next Bitcoin in motion. Hello, my elite friends. Oh yeah, it is time for another One Bitcoin Show because of innovators like the one you're going to see today, and because of people who are in motion and they were crypto networking like the guy you're going to see today. I was just in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, okay? And I practiced what I was freaking preaching on this show beforehand. That you got to talk to people. You got a crypto network, okay? Me going there, hanging out with a fan of mine out there, he sponsored this show and 2 other shows. So we got 3 shows, including this one, coming down the pipeline for you. This is just being in motion. And just being out there, I met our guest today, Belisario, okay? Yeah, this dude is out in South Dakota right now. He's going to give us the lowdown on South Dakota. He's going to give us the lowdown on Bitcoin education, the separation of education and state, what he's doing at his university that's different. He's going to be teaching Bitcoin, okay? We're going to hear all about it. That you wouldn't be hearing about any of this. This show wouldn't even be happening if I didn't go to freaking Sioux Falls in the first place with the Bitcoin Day people. And by the way, Bitcoin Day, I'm going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina with Ric Flair. Whoa! No, Ric Flair won't be at the event. But I will be at Charlotte, North Carolina, June the 11th. And you're going to be able to crypto network with me, whoever else is out there. It's going to be fun. It is linked to below. So everybody out there, follow me on Twitter at TechBalt. Retweet this right freaking now. Follow Bailey. He is linked to below. Okay. Bailey, welcome to the show, baby.
Hey, Adam. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. It's we got a lot to talk about here, definitely. Oh, yeah. And you are the type of guy, I saw you watching my speech. I watched your speech. We just talked right away, and bam, we get a show set up like that. So you are in motion. You're an innovator. You're doing different things out there. What brought you to South Dakota in the first place, and what do you think of South Dakota?
Sure, yeah. So for those that don't know, I grew up in Cartersville, Georgia. My entire life until I went to Dakota State University in South Dakota. So what brought me to South Dakota overall is my degree that I got at Dakota State University. Cyber operations degree was my bachelor's, and then my master's was computer science. So yeah, I mean, just my education brought me to South Dakota, and I got to say, I absolutely love South Dakota. When I tell you it has so much freedom about it, and being able to just be in the countryside versus the city life, I gotta say I absolutely love it.
Now, you could have been a tree and just stuck your whole life in Georgia, but I mean, you really uprooted yourself, okay? And that's people that's inspiration right there. If what you want is in a completely different place, go get it, baby. Okay. I mean, today, most people are crying in their basement, envious of wealthy people do it. And that's what we did this past weekend. We got up there, we met people, and he made a big announcement there. He's going to make a big announcement again. So at Dakota State, what are you doing with Bitcoin? Teaching Bitcoin? What's going on? What are your plans with Bitcoin? What are your thoughts on the current Bitcoin education out there and the state of the university system?
Sure. Yeah. So I got into Bitcoin. It was around late 2020, and I guess throughout my investing career and computer science degree, I started to get involved of looking into what the term blockchain technology, right? And so I ended up taking a course online through MIT, and this was taught by Gary Gensler, who is the SEC chairman now, right? And so I went through this course, and honestly, that was the course that started prompting me to look into Bitcoin a lot. And because he explained in that course that Bitcoin was uniquely different. Now, of course, I would classify myself as a Bitcoin maximalist now, especially after I read The Bitcoin Standard by Saifedean. And yeah, so what I'm doing at Dakota State, I am a research engineer, so I work outside of the education realm doing a lot of just computer science work. But on the side, I do teach computer science and cyber operations. So this year in January of 2022, I brought up to the deans of our College of Business Information Systems and our computer and cyber sciences and was like, hey, so I'm really into Bitcoin and I want to teach Bitcoin at Dakota State University, because when I'm looking around at all these schools, public education, private education, especially in the university realm, I'm seeing nothing. Like I barely see any schools teaching about Bitcoin at all. And just really not even from the technological side, just from an economics, philosophy side of things. And so I was like, well, you know what? I want to go for it. So I asked, hey, can I start teaching a class on Bitcoin this upcoming year? And honestly, I didn't have any resistance at all from the deans, and they were all for it. So this upcoming year, in 2023, in the spring, I will be teaching Bitcoin at Dakota State University along with 2 other professors, and it's going to be a full semester course. And I plan to carry this out into like the latter of 2023 in the fall, summer. And I also announced that in 2022 fall, I will be partnering with the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute at University of South Dakota to teach a 4-week class on Bitcoin for just anyone that wants to learn about it. So I'm super excited. I'm really, like, honestly, the motivation behind all of this was, I used to be into so many of the altcoin space and whatnot. And when I came to really understand what Bitcoin was and what it's trying to do, I mean, especially my humanitarian side of things and me being a Christian, I went all for it. And yeah, I mean, I want to spread that message to other people. And so that's what I'm doing.
Wow. Teaching Bitcoin at the university level. Everybody pound that like button. We're going to jump around the topics here because people have questions. If you've got questions in the chat, do a super chat, or you can type in Bitcoinmeister so I see it. I also want to thank Henry Law for his donation and the guy who sent me some Ethereum. And we're closer to having a 4th show because of those dudes. What someone said here, and again, I got to give you all the credit in the world, Bailey. You just
Sure.
did it. You didn't need anybody's permission. Bitcoin is permissionless.
Correct.
I'm going to teach my own course, and lo and behold, they didn't even give you any troubles over there.
Nope.
And by the way, Dakota State is north of Sioux Falls, correct?
Correct. Northwest of Sioux Falls in Madison, South Dakota.
Okay, and I want to say Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We spent the weekend there. You've probably spent more time than I have there.
Sure.
A lot more time. It is trendy. If you are from okay, it's not for everyone because it's cold. Okay,
sure.
All right,
Yeah.
it's not like Florida. It's not like Texas. It's a lot more freedom than those places. You got to be able to support yourself. All right, which I like. But it's cold. But if you're from another metropolitan area really nearby, the Twin City area, which is now I probably is higher taxes, the crime issues. I see a lot of people fleeing there to Sioux Falls. I mean, Sioux Falls was clean. It was trendy. It was safe. And there's a lot of bank stuff there, to say the least. Bank signage. It was a weekend, so I didn't see what was usually open and whatnot. But it's a financial hub and a good place. And there was definitely Bitcoin interest. I was impressed by the mayor. The mayor showed up at the event. Now, I heard different things about the governor. I don't know if you have thoughts about the hype. There's a lot of hype about her outside of the state. It seems like Bitcoiners from inside the state weren't as impressed with her. And any thoughts on the governor? Before we get back to education here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so our governor is Kristi Noem, and it's very interesting because, like I said, South Dakota is a very free state. We definitely are not for centralized control of the federal government, and Kristi Noem has portrayed that message really well. Now, the interesting thing, like you were saying, is from a Bitcoiner perspective, I personally haven't seen any movement or talk of any type of advancement of learning or implementing this technology within South Dakota. All of it's kind of come from what we talked about at the Bitcoin Day conference, a grassroots level within local communities, and just trying to build that up. And so what we are trying to work on right now is getting Bitcoin at least proposed into legislation, and also just bringing it up to the governor or other state legislators to make them more aware of it, because it really is a grassroots movement. And I believe, especially in Sioux Falls, it's really cool because a lot of people you walk up to or you talk about it with them, and you're like, at a restaurant or something, you're like, hey, can I tip you in Bitcoin? And they're not really against it. That they're like, sure. I don't really understand what it is, but sure. And so it's pretty cool. But yeah, that's my thoughts on, at least from the political side.
Did you know that the mayor had any interest before this event? I had no idea. I mean, I had no idea.
No, personally, I did not. At least I did not know he had or he owns any Bitcoin. I have no idea if he keeps that in cold storage or on an exchange or not. Most likely, it's probably on an exchange, if I had to guess, because I noticed, he thought of Bitcoin more as an investment from what he was talking about. But it's good to hear that he's holding on strong. He's not really worried about it. And yeah, I mean, I believe, I really hope within our local meetups that we have every month that maybe, hey, we can get the mayor to come out to one of them and we can really get to talk face to face with him and just discuss these things. So we'll see.
I got to say, on a political level, meeting him and just being impressed that he shows up at an event like this, he has some potential to move up. He could become the governor of the state of South Dakota one day. I got that vibe from him. I found him impressive. I really don't like politics that much, but you could tell he's the kind of guy that's going to move up. He's a good-looking guy. He's a smart guy and everything like that. I mean, first of all, the mayor, the former mayor of South Bend, Indiana, almost became president apparently. So if this guy's got a big future. That guy's got a future. But let's. I'm glad Bitcoin was on this dude's radar, and I'm glad that here someone in the chat says he tries to make a comparison between South Dakota and Wyoming are rolling. Well, this is the thing, Ron Richards. I was in Wyoming and I didn't see a darn thing that had anything to do with Bitcoin. And I still have to post that video of me screaming outside of the Capitol building in Cheyenne, like Caitlin Long's name, and no one being in the streets. But here in South Dakota, I was at a Bitcoin event. I met South Dakotan Bitcoiners. So it's positive. It's truly a free state. And I can't say enough about Sioux Falls. It is definitely up and coming. So for all you people that, you're hearing the news about how, things in New York and Chicago and Los Angeles is so bad, people are jobless or what. Dude, if you're jobless in New York City, come to Sioux Falls. There are plenty of jobs there.
100%, yeah.
Exactly. Do not be a tree. That's one of the biggest things I learned from this weekend is just be like this dude right there. You were at college, you didn't exactly like what you were teaching, you make up a whole new course. You want to teach Bitcoin? You're teaching Bitcoin to the people. Someone had a question also. When is the
Sure.
Denver the Denver version of Bitcoin Day? I will be there. It is July the 23rd. It's Friday, July the 23rd. Link to below is the Charlotte one. And if you click on the Charlotte one, you can click on all the upcoming ones. And you'll see the Denver one is the one after the Charlotte one. And for all you people who like surprises, Andy Hoffman will be at the Denver Bitcoin Day event. You'll get a shirt that's just like this. You know, I did all the free shirts. You're going to get some free shirts too, dudes. So if you come to any of these Bitcoin Day events, which are just great crypto networking opportunities, you get to meet dudes like me and Bailey and stay. Well, I mean, Bailey, you're open to other people like contacting you over DM to give their educational ideas, right?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, because there's a guy in the UK, Bitcoinmeister, right now. He's going to do a show after my show. He's a big educational guy, but I know there's a lot of people there that want to. I mean, you seem to be a guy that's up for anything.
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, when people contact me on Twitter, especially, I don't have a large following. I mean, I have like a little over 500 followers, right? And it doesn't matter who you are, like where you're from or anything. I'm definitely open to talking to anybody, really, anytime. And yeah, especially just, helping people understand, topics or what we're talking about, Bitcoin education. I'm always open to questions. I mean, just literally this past week, since I put out my video of my conference talk, I had my cousin text me he's just living back in Georgia, and I'm pretty sure he's a used car dealer. And he was just, like, hey, man, I really want to understand Bitcoin, and I need you to help me understand it. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm going to be talking with him this weekend, just approaching, your own family members or other friends and just random people. It doesn't matter who you are. I'm open to it.
Yeah, man. I mean, you could be your Bitcoin education model at Dakota State could be replicated all over the United States. I hope
Correct.
It's going to be a course everywhere, because it's something you need to know. I mean, my talk was about, know how to store your Bitcoin, know how to send your Bitcoin. Most people don't even know how to do these are skills that are much more valuable than the stuff that's being taught, feminist knitting or whatever. I don't know what that is. You are making the most of this golden age. But
100%.
One story that you briefly talked about, before the virus came out, you were teaching students, and then during and afterwards, you said they kind of changed in a way, some of them.
Yeah. So I came in to Dakota State University in 2017, right out of high school. And I mean, personally, just the vibe that you get from campus, the environment around you, your own classmates, I got to say, pre-COVID, it 100% is different than it is now. And I mean, there was just so much energy in the classroom, and from even my coworkers who I work with, they graduated with me, and a lot of them see it. I see it personally with my other professors too, that I'm not the only professor that's noticing this, or sorry, I'm not a professor, instructor. And it's just a whole entire different classroom environment now. A lot of these students that I'm getting or getting to know, I mean, especially I like to be interactive with my students. I like to, have them really think about things, ask questions, get them to answer questions that I propose. And I mean, like, it's like the whole classroom's just dead all the time. Like, nobody interacts with each other, rarely. And it's just a completely different energy in the classroom. And I got to say, I think COVID did do a toll on that, just because I'm teaching students right out of high school pretty much. And I mean, seeing that they went on complete lockdown, for basically a whole year. Some of them are still locked down. It's really sad to me to see that, because I don't think that's what a classroom environment should be.
It's conformity to the government mandate, and it's scary.
Yeah.
it's college is a place where you're supposed to have ideas and be free and be a rebel. It seems like these people chose to be slaves, and that some of them haven't broken out of the spell. Now, what I'm hoping is that the 20%ers, the true people in motion, they will be intrigued by your Bitcoin class, and the people who opt into your Bitcoin class will be more likely to be freedom lovers, I think.
Sure. Yep.
It's a way to weed out. It's so sad that college has become this place of conformity and fear. It's very disappointing. So let's talk about separation of state and education here, because it seems like these the public universities, they've got their what they want to teach and the way they're going to do it, and that's it. There's a certain model. They're spitting out the same generic student over and over again. And I don't think, I commend you on doing Bitcoin education and your university for even, being up for the challenge. But I think the future in Bitcoin education and in all education is privatization. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, sure. So, within my talk at Bitcoin Day, I explained a lot of the problems with public education that we have, right? And I really do believe that exactly what you said, privatization, homeschooling, or any of that is really the way forward we need to go. Because when you bring in this idea of a, it really amazes me that a lot of people believe that the United States of America is very capitalist, because it's really not. It's more corporatism, really now. And I mean, the same thing comes into when you have public education. It's funded by a government, and I mean, they're going to try to push the agenda. The one with the money is going to try to push their agenda. And same thing can happen in private schooling. However, the thing is, though, is you're going to weed out the bad schools over time with a private school versus a public school education. So, when you're thinking about just this whole sphere of education of state, I don't believe at all that you can centralize education. It just makes absolutely no sense at all, because like how I grew up in Georgia is going to be completely different from how you grow up in South Dakota and other places across the United States. And there's just different ways of interacting with your surroundings in life. I mean, and yet our government wants to centralize this education, especially what I talked about in the talk of Common Core introduced in 2009. And it's still instated today, even though some states have reformed that agenda or are still sticking with it or rejected it. I just don't believe that every student can learn the same at all within these different environments. So, I mean, when it comes to public education, I think it's really a detriment to a lot of our citizens that we have in America, because when you introduce a free market to education, I believe you're going to get the best education overall for everyone, because the most successful, best outputting schools are going to come out on top versus public schools that just, stay open and you don't really have a choice at all to choose where you get to go.
Compete, don't complain, baby. But most people complain. They use the public school system as a daycare center for their kids, and it's terrible. But I want to remind everyone that the video is linked to below of his speech, where he talks about his big announcement and the educational topics with Bitcoin. And there was something else I was about to say with the university, the current. But it's great that a guy who is in the current university system is saying, maybe this isn't the best thing. I don't think we should have a federal Department of Education at all. All right. Sure. And you say that this country is not truly capitalistic. And yes, it is basically economically, it's fascism. It's picking winners and losers. The government says, well, we're gonna sponsor this. We're gonna bail out this industry. Mm-hmm. We're gonna not support this industry. get separation of finance and government. The government should not be involved in money at all, and that is the that's the glory of Bitcoin right there, because it is it's a private money. The government has no say, cannot dictate how much is printed, what the financial policy is. It's the most reliable financial policy of all time, 21 million ever. So
Exactly.
it's totally different than the willy-nilly fascistic policies. And of course, the United States, compared to some of these economic policies of these countries, yeah, it does look very capitalistic. Okay, compared to the rest, yeah,
right.
There's some major capitalistic aspects of it, but that we have these centralized government agencies that just dictate financial policy, educational policy. This is
right. Yeah, it is really ridiculous, because, I mean, we see all the time, especially in the past decade since the Great Recession, you get large corporations bailed out because, I mean, it's like the government, one, they're close friends with them for one thing, but two, it's an example of not really favoring the people. I mean, take a small business venture, right? Any person that's going to go start a small business, if that business fails, the government's not going to bail them out. But let's look at what happened during COVID, right? Plenty of airlines were bailed out, from bankruptcy, pretty much. And not to say that we don't need airlines, right? Because, I mean, for an example, there's a lot of people that do fly, and travel is nice, being able to fly in an airplane. But, I mean, you can look at other companies. Like, I think when I look at a company, I think that went bankrupt, like Toys R Us, or I think Macy's even, they'll get bailed out. And then they use those funds of bailout to even go more in debt than they already are in. And then it just blows up into this whole entire ordeal when they literally cannot pay anything. So it really is ridiculous to me, because it doesn't favor the small businesses, the true capitalists of our country. It favors corporatism.
There should be no favoritism whatsoever.
Right.
The government shouldn't be picking winners and losers. I want to hear your take on how Bitcoin will disrupt college, and do you see the college system being totally different in 10 years? And will some students' minds be freed? I'll quickly say that I think, unfortunately, I think I think the majority, I mean, just they want to fit in so much. That's what I've learned from this sickness over the last 3 years.
Right.
But yeah, let's talk about disruption here.
Sure. Yeah. So, one of the main points of my entire talk was I want to teach students how to think for themselves. I don't want them to me to lecture them and just go off of what I say, right? I want to be challenged. I want to talk through these things with my students and teach them really the truth and mislabeling of Bitcoin. But even just getting into that mindset, I can go back and look at myself. I mean, I wasn't really in terms of financial education, I was definitely not the smartest when I came into college in 2017. I didn't know how to manage my finances properly. I didn't know how to really do anything with the money that I had in my bank account, and I was paying for school. I also took out loans, and luckily I didn't take out like an insane amount of loans. But what amazes me is looking at so many students just across the nation all the time of just taking on this burden of debt that they don't really realize like what the implications of that is, right? Because there's no interest charged until after you're like graduated, and it's just sitting there, right? And so they're like, oh yeah, I'll pay off later, blah, blah, blah. And because it's just so freely and cheaply given by our government. And so, Yeah, overall, I think what Bitcoin really can do, like I was talking about, with especially just the low time preference standpoint, is really thinking about those decisions in a long-term perspective. And it doesn't matter what political party you're on, where you come from, what your background is, if you grew up poor, if you grew up rich, or whatever. Just getting into this thinking of really having a mind of your own, right? And that's what I want to bring forward within this, because I just don't want to be someone that's like just handing content over to students and being like, all right, here you go, whatever. I want to really help them understand the content and be a guide and mentor through this process for them to be able to contact me, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, whatever, that if they ever have questions again or whatever, even life questions, they can totally ask me. And it really, I really do think that this type of mindset with a lot of Bitcoin's values can change education through time and really decentralize it to probably its max potential. I look at things like Sailor Academy, right? And even YouTube. And I love the point that Michael Saylor had brought up before of, the decentralization of education and allowing people to go on their own pace. Because I do believe that that's a really cool aspect of decentralizing education, is people can branch out and learn what they want to learn, right? And like Sailor Academy's website, I mean, you can learn these multitude of topics from very credible professors across the world and be able to, like, if I want to go learn about biology, I totally can. If I want to go learn about physics, I totally can, even though I'm a computer scientist. Just areas that I don't necessarily use in my daily life. But, if you're in the centralized agenda of what people are trying to, push on you, saying like, here, you have to learn this. And I'm like, well, maybe I don't want to right now, right? I believe it will shift education in such a way to give people more freedom of choice over time, and just getting into this mindset of what value does this education really have to me in the long term.
That's very important. The value of your education. I think there's some people that have complicated matters so much. They think, I'm gonna learn this subject and it's just magically gonna make me rich. Bitcoin brings back basics, like basic accounting. People think, you said at the beginning you weren't too wise with your money at first. You didn't know how to manage it. Bitcoin teaches, saving. Saving is a lost art.
Yes.
And there's some, Bitcoin can teach you some really not so complicated things that are going to be life skills that are going to be incredibly valuable, like sending a Bitcoin,
right.
setting up a wallet, understanding what controlling your own private key is, not depending on third parties.
Right.
These are really basic concepts that people just, maybe they think are too easy or too simple or granted. Just the big flashy stuff, the flashy, excessive subjects that you learn in school, and some of them are good for certain people. But man, we gotta bring it back to basics here.
100%.
It's just like everybody wants to learn about everybody's. A lot of different little groups have been through some horrible times in their lives, and all those groups want to be taught in public schools now. Great, but you can learn about some subjugated group in South Asia. What's that going to do for you in real life? Okay, if you don't know how to budget to budget your money, and Bitcoin brings back some very basic things, long-term thinking. People don't have people or whims. Go for whims and short-term, highs. What the heck? Bitcoin brings it back. And so basic educational, the base level of education has been destroyed. And I think Bitcoin will help reestablish that. People just learn about Bitcoin and savings again. And I will tell you this, he's a guy who understands long-term thinking, and I got to meet in South Dakota. It's all about being in motion, people. You wouldn't be getting the show if I didn't go to South Dakota. So and so you guys all go to your own South Dakota. Get out of your mental your mental echo chambers and go other places. Travel virtually, travel physically, whatever it takes. You do not have to live in some doom fear world that most people are in right now. This is a golden age. So yeah, take it away, Bill. I went on a little bit of a rant there.
Sure,
but,
sure.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I think another aspect which I've come to really prioritize in the past 2 years really is privacy as well. Taking back my data, right? I mean, it's so amazing to me how, well, amazing, but also just kind of ironic in some way. You know, how freely people give up information just all the time, you know, on public, like we can see a centralized platform like Twitter. And centralization really does bring in so many conveniences that you just kind of give up your stuff freely for the convenience aspect. And that's the thing that people do need to really learn, is the fact that decentralization of really anything, it's going to bring inconvenience. Like, I get that. I understand that. You think it's super convenient for me to, like, you know, go get my hardware wallet, plug it into my computer or air gapped thing, transfer my SD card, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's not convenient at all. But the same thing goes for even your own data of what you put out on the internet. I mean, for an example, I host all of my own files on my own storage server here at my house, because in the United States, I learned this, I think last year, that sure, any data that you hold, like say on a cloud platform, if the government really wanted to view that data, they totally could without your permission, because it's not on your property, right? And that blew my mind. I was like, so I don't even own my data, right? And I really think that with Bitcoin, I mean, it's really changed my thinking about how I go about things in life. I mean, it's gotten me to, one, kind of take back control of my life in a way that's been taken away from me growing up. But just getting you into that thinking of what do you really need, in a lot of ways. And so, yeah, and I do have some inconveniences and stuff, and technology is kind of inconvenient sometimes, even for me as a tech person. But, you know, I truly believe that people need to prioritize that, taking time out of their own days to educate themselves on these things, because especially as we advance forward in a digital age, there are going to be so many people left behind if you don't take that time out to learn. And I mean, I think Bitcoin prioritizes that.
Yeah, people will be left behind, but I'm gonna phrase it a little bit differently. The
Sure.
people who jump on this now are going to be way ahead.
Yeah.
Personal responsibility is the new counterculture. If those people left behind, it's their own darn fault. I'm not going to focus on them. I'm focusing on the people who see that we're in the tip of the golden age here and want to progress. And they're going to leave all these other dudes behind. They're going to get, you know, Dakota State. They can take the classes. South Dakota, you know, you're spreading the word. Tell people how they can help you or join you, send you ideas. You mentioned Twitter being centralized. Twitter can be a garbage dump, but if you use this correctly, you can network so well. Don't be scared to contact him. Don't be scared to contact me. Just put it all out there. Promote yourself. Do it. We're reaching the end of the show right now.
Sure. Yeah. So, like I said, on Twitter, you can definitely reach out to me. My handle is Belisario20. And you can also check out my website. I do need to make updates to my website. It's zonemix.tech, zonemix.tech. And I have a bunch of resources on there, and my own information. You can email me. So any of that, if you want to contact me, feel free to. And I would love everybody's ideas. I mean, just being able to, you know, take in, it is hard to take in all of this content and information and digest it in a way that I can easily output it to students, right? And but that's the job of trying to help be an educator in space. It's conveying hard ideas into an easy way for people to understand. And yeah, so I'm definitely open to that.
Over the next 5 years, how would you like to see your projects progress here? From
Sure.
what do you see the end goal?
Sure. So kind of my end goal with this, I definitely want to advance Bitcoin education even further, across universities in the United States, or just helping other educators learn this stuff and start teaching it at their schools too. Mainly because I want to create more of a decentralized form of Bitcoin education too. Obviously, I don't want everybody just to take my own content or whatever and just, I want people's own spin on things and what they think is important to go about. But also, since I am in computer science, I talked about that I've been trying to work to contribute to Bitcoin Core and other open source projects on Bitcoin. And I mean, I've been learning over the past 8 months a lot of Bitcoin internals from its programming perspective. And so I want to advance that part as well, not just the philosophical, technical, business perspectives of Bitcoin, or economical even, but also getting to a point where I'm comfortable enough that I can say, hey, like, I really do understand Bitcoin's programming, its true technicalities, Lightning Network's technicalities, and then teaching classes on how to help people get started with becoming developers in the space at the university level. So that's where I see it in 5 years.
Awesome. For me, I'm going to be really happy in 5 years from now. Let's do 2 years from now, after the next halving. If
Sure.
Bitcoin is just a class at community colleges, high school, if it's not something that's very rare like it is right now, but it's rare right now, but you're jumping on it to make it more common. And still they're going to be people like, oh, it's still a scam, I'm not going to take the scam class. Mm-hmm. But at least it will be out there to really trigger some people into being productive and getting out of their comfortability zone. So I love what you're doing. You are a spark in the Bitcoin educational space, and I hope people can join you, send you some more ideas. And it was great meeting you in person. And
yeah, definitely.
In South Dakota, if you got questions about South Dakota, send it to him too. But this is a real dude in South Dakota. This is not theoretical Wyoming stuff. Because I gotta say, this Wyoming stuff is still like theoretical up in the ether.
Yeah.
The South Dakota Bitcoin stuff to me now is physical. I was there. I met real South Dakota. I saw the mayor was freaking interested in it. I got South Dakotans sponsoring shows of mine. Thank you very much again, guys. So I'm thinking highly of South Dakota when comparing South Dakota and Wyoming. But compete, don't complain. May the best state win. Texas, Florida. That's what having 50 beautiful states is all about, dudes.
Right.
Any final thoughts on your part, Bally, before we jet out of here?
No final thoughts. I mean, like I said, if you want to check me out at my website, zonemix.tech, or Twitter, feel free to and contact me. And besides that, Adam, appreciate you having me on the show. Awesome.
The Twitter and the video is linked to below. Everybody, pound that like button. That's the end of the show. Go watch UK Bitcoinmeister's show. It's going to be on really soon. I'm Adam Meister, Bitcoinmeister, Disrupt Meister. Remember, subscribe to this channel, pound that like button. Send some donations, whatever you got to do. But we got 2 more shows coming up soon enough in the next, week or 2. It's going to be awesome. Thanks a lot, everybody. Retweet it. Follow me on Twitter, TECHBALT. Thanks a lot, everybody. See ya. Shabbat shalom.